Good morning. What are we on? 20 to 8. We've lost a blazer, we've found a blazer, we've lost a pair of shoes, we've found a pair of shoes. I mean, if nothing else needs to go well today, we've succeeded. Winter fuel, obviously, we're going to talk about this and we'll talk about this more in depth. But what I want to know initially, right now, before we get into the political humdrum, where's the apology? So, do you remember several times in Prime Minister's questions, the Prime Minister was asked questions by Kemi Badenoch about policies, fiscal policies, cuts. I think the welfare cuts was the first one where he started demanding apologies from the Conservative Party. He started demanding apologies for getting them in the state that they were in, which meant that they'd had to cut the winter fuel allowance in the first place, or the welfare cuts in the first place. He would always say, where's your apology? It's your fault. It's not me you should be having a go at. It's your own party. It was your government that did this. Now, you can't argue with some of that. Some of that was true. Did they create the £22 billion black hole? I don't accept that. And if you look at a lot of the way that Labour has skewed a lot of the figures, would you say that that's all true? No. But could we say that the Tories had an exemplary record when they were in office? No, we definitely couldn't. So there's an element of truth in there. Now, if this was happening right at the beginning and we had sort of like a 6-week snap of it's your fault, say you're sorry, it's your fault, say you're sorry, it's your fault, say you're sorry, you could say, fair comment. Do you know what? They've been waiting 14 years to get in the seat. They've been waiting to have a go at this. I mean, what they've been doing in those 14 years, nobody knows because it's clearly not learning. But nonetheless, they've been waiting that time to have their moment to say it was all your fault. Then you've got to move on. Then you've got to go, right, well, it doesn't really matter whose fault it was because we're here, aren't we? And we've inherited it, we've got to get us out of it. Or it doesn't really matter whose fault it is, whether we've inherited it or whether we've made it up. We just need to make it better. The tough choices came from what Rachel Reeves wanted to make and Keir Starmer wanted to make. They were tough because they thought if they sandwiched it up as tough, you and I would think they'd been sitting there mulling all night going, oh, I don't know if we can do this to the pensioners. I don't know if we can do this to the kids. Should we really be doing this to the farmers? Oh, well, if we tell them it was tough, it looks like we thought about it. It looks like we had a moral conscience. It looked like we thought of other alternatives. And then they'll sort of think that we were doing the right thing because that was the only thing we could do because we had to get out of the mess that we were in. Rubbish. It wasn't tough. It was really easy. It was exactly what they wanted to do. It is exactly what they do want to carry on doing. It is their agenda. So it's not tough. So let's lose the it was a tough choice. We've made tough choices. We've had to make tough choices. Bollocks. So then we move on to the bit where we've done the U-turn, which we're all glad. There's still a little way to go. Come on, let's be honest. It's not exactly what the headlines say, but it is a step in the right direction. So yay. Look, I'm wearing my red top today to support the winter fuel U-turn. I'm not. I'm wearing it because it was in the wardrobe and it was the first thing that came out, but we'll go with that too. So they've done a U-turn. Where's the apology? And the apology isn't to the Conservatives. I'm not interested in them apologising to them. They're both as bad as each other. And nor is it to Reform. They can do one as well. You can all actually do one. You can all go and sit at the back of the class and you can listen to me for a minute because the apology is to the pensioners and to the families of the pensioners who have spent since last July absolutely shitting themselves about what they're going to do this winter. The untold mental strain on some of those people will be unbearable. It will have kept them awake at night, been the first thing they thought about in the morning. They would have spent this year trying to claw back money so they can afford to have their heating on this winter. The stress and the strain that these people have been put under at their age should never be underestimated. That worry will have gone in there like a seed. It would have grown arms, legs, roots, tentacles, everything. So they deserve an apology, because they have had to live with the insecurity and the uncertainty and frankly the impending sense of doom of winter coming. And when we talk about this £200, let's not be popping corks and going, woohoo! I mean, it's not going to heat their house, is it? It's going to go some way, which is good. It is going to go some way. But then we've got these ridiculous energy prices that we've got to attack as well, and the cost of existence. So yes, it is the starting point. It is the right starting point, but it should never, ever have been up for debate in the first place. So we need an apology. Because I think the bit that really bothers me is all of this just dishing out these policies like it's a deck of cards and walking away from them without realising, well, without wanting to realise or think the effect it has on people. What about the farmers? Have we discussed how many farmers have taken their own lives because they simply can't face the prospect of the farmer's tax and what it's going to do to their family and their business and their livelihood and their farm that for generations has come through their family. And yes, okay, someone can turn around and go, sell the farm, you've got 3 million quid. You may well have 3 million quid. You actually won't have 3 million quid. What you'll have is a load of land for solar farms, and you will have a farmer who hasn't broken even. The money goes into the farm to run it. So we've got that aspect. Then what about the school kids who have had to leave school? Who have had to, families, parents who have had to sit down at the kitchen table and say to their children, I'm really sorry, mummy and daddy can't afford this anymore, you're going to have to move school. To the kids in the state system who say, parents go, I'm really sorry, but mummy and daddy can't afford to put you into the independent system, so you're going to have 3 more kids in your class, even though you actually need 1-to-1. What about the fishermen who have now lost their fishing rights for 12 years and now don't know how they're going to make a living, don't know how they're going to make ends meet? What about the small businesses who can't pay the employment tax, the national insurance rises, so they are having to lay staff off? But when we were dealing the deck of cards, we were talking about tough choices, and we were saying, oh, we've had to make tough choices because it's all their fault. But that's not true. That isn't true. You made choices, they weren't tough, you made choices based on what you wanted. And in so many of these cases, they're backfiring now. In so many of these cases, they're going pop. So for the next person that says to me, well, what were you doing for the past 14 years? What were you doing? What were you doing to lobby? What were you doing to say this isn't okay? What were you doing? I'm standing here now saying it as it is. And I think Keir Starmer needs to apologise to the pensioners. And I think Rachel Reeves needs to apologise to the pensioners unreservedly. And then I think they need to go through every policy that they've introduced since July, and they need to look at the people that they're affecting negatively. And they need to sit there and work out, is it worth a human life to impose this policy? Because that's what we've got down to. That's the bottom line right now. The Labour policies are costing human lives. Dress it up how you like. I'm not sure there is a good way.